Charles Metcalf, and I'm currently running for County Commissioner in District.
At the very least, we're breaking even on it. I don't care. Lower the price back down.
I am almost homesick for the Florida that I knew growing up in the 90s.
They don't actually truly care about this country.
We don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you wake up?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Florida Frontier. Tonight, we're talking all about the redistricting of Florida, and we're also going to be tapping into the Ohio State general election a little bit as well, but we're kind of going to save that till the end. I honestly don't know. Yeah, we'll just kind of save that to the end. Anyways, before we start the show, if you like the show and you support the show, you can subscribe to us on Substack for $8 a month to unlock exclusive articles, exclusive podcasts, exclusive interviews, and whatever projects I may come up with later on in the future as well. Also, if you subscribe to Substack, $8 a month, you can be in a group chat with me. You can text me as long as it's not like 2 a.m., as long as it's not 3 o'clock in the morning, and as long as you don't blow up the phone, I really don't care. But anyways, with all that stuff being said, if you support the show, go ahead and subscribe on Substack and also subscribe on YouTube as well, for it tremendously helps our algorithm. It helps us grow. But anyways, moving past that though, we need to get into the whole redistricting of Florida itself. And where to even start on this, because I hear a lot of mixed feelings on this. I hear people saying, oh, here, let me turn down my audio. Okay, that should be better. Now it should not be destroying my microphone. But I hear a lot of people, though, saying, oh, well, DeSantis, he doesn't actually have the right to do this. DeSantis, it's an illegal thing. He shouldn't be able to do it. He's just stripping away from the Democratic Party out of hate, out of spite, out of malice. But ultimately, the number one thing I'm hearing, though, is he can't do it. So I want to get into that, of what he can and cannot do. I want to get into how this will impact the future of Florida. I also, like I said, we're also going to get into Ohio. And it's kind of weird because, the show is called Florida Frontier. All of our stuff is basically just revolving around Florida politics. But something interesting is happening. And that being, that interesting thing is Vivek Ramaswamy has won the GOP primary election in Ohio. So I kind of wanted to get into that. But like I said, we're going to save it for later on the show. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes here a little bit, because yes, I do go off of notes, okay? And I started going off of notes today on this show, starting from now, because honestly, when I just go on my rants and I get distracted, I start talking about things that is totally just off topic, then, I end up going in a whole nother direction, and I don't actually get done of what I really want to talk to. So yes, I have started using notes. From moving forward from now, I will be going based off of notes. Anyways, the 2026 midterms for Florida is looking very favorable for the Republican Party. And I say that because, people, I kind of touched into it a little bit yesterday. A lot of your boomers, and, look, I don't hate boomers, okay? And people dog on me for this. They'll kind of, give me a little bit of flack for this and be like, you talk a lot about boomers. Like, do you just hate these boomers? Like, do you just hate people who's of the older generation? No, I don't hate them, but they just don't understand modern day politics. They don't understand modern day politics because they're stuck in 2016. And, it's very weird to say that people from the 50s, whatever year the boomer year is, I honestly don't care. But people who was born in the mid 1900s, though, it's very weird to say that they're stuck in 2016, right? Because generally you would think that they'd be stuck on like the Reagan years. And a lot of them like Ronald Reagan. I like Ronald Reagan. But people of the older generation is very, very pro-Trump. So the Florida midterms is going to be a very interesting election. Because you have your boomer candidates, you have your Jay Collins, you have Bobby Williams, Paul Ritter, and they're basically like, for lack of a better word, they're kind of similar to Trump in 2016 in a way. Not with the hype, not with people chanting USA. They don't have all the hype, right? But they have the attention of the boomers who voted for Trump in 2016. So anyways, but I'm also going to get into, and I know we touched a little bit about it yesterday about how I think Fishback won this election. We will be talking more about Fishback stuff in this episode. But, we're going to go ahead and just start off with the redistricting in Florida. So let's go ahead and get into that. So let me pull this up here. Let me actually turn off my my desktop audio. Something keeps beeping. I don't know what that is. But anyways, DeSantis just signed, let's see here. He just signed a new thing, came into, I don't know. I think this was, what day was this? I don't know. It says early May. Okay. I have like a news article pulled up. It says early May. It doesn't actually give the date. What horrible news organization. Anyways, it withdraws 21 of 28 districts and is projected to potentially flip up to 4 seats toward the Republicans, aiming for something like 24 Republicans, 4 Democrats. This has sparked lawsuits, claims of illegally, there's that word again, illegally under the Fair Districts rules, and debate over mid-decades change. And so basically, redistricting decides which voters are grouped together to elect their representative, directly affecting political power, election outcomes, and representation for the communities. It's a routine but often highly partisan process in Florida. For the latest maps or legal changes, check official sources, yada yada. But anyways, what does this mean for the future of Florida, though? Well, for one, Florida's going to stay red, or is projected to stay red anyway. Florida is projected to stay red with a lot more Republican seats than Democrat seats than there was. Democratic seats were very, very few in Florida, but now there's going to be even less, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. I think it's great. And as somebody who is very conservative, I don't want it any other way. And so kind of like my whole stance on this issue is, honestly, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I don't care. I think DeSantis made a good decision. And usually, I would give DeSantis, the way he has governed over Florida, I would give him an A+. And the reason, well, A+, A-, give or take. And I think DeSantis is a great governor. He has been the best governor Florida has ever had, in my opinion. There's a few things DeSantis has done that's like a no-no. I'm just like, no, DeSantis, why? Bad DeSantis, why did you do that? And for one, that's going to Israel and signing in a anti-Semitism law in Israel over Florida, which I'm against entirely. I don't know why our governor went and signed a law into a foreign country that's outside of the country, much less outside of the state. But anyways, I will always remain baffled on that whole thing. Honestly, there's nothing you can do about it. May 4th. Okay, cool. May 4th. So yes, DeSantis signed this on May 4th. allowing, basically he was maneuvering around this whole thing, because here's the thing. People is wondering why he did this. And let's be real. A democratic future for our country looks very realistic right now. And not realistic in the way of something I would approve or something I want, but is looking very feasible for the opposition. Because the Republican Party has made the midterms very undesirable to continue having the Republican Party. And so I got to pop a Zen for a second. Otherwise, I'm just going to run out of fuel. For those of you who are wondering, so whenever I used to stream before, I used to always show the flavor and the milligram of the Zens or whatever I was popping. Today we have the, you can't probably see it because of the green screen, but we have the wintergreen 6 milligram Zens. But anyways, let's get back to this. So ultimately, though, I think this is a good thing. DeSantis has made a good decision, in my opinion, because it's going to keep the state of Florida red. But like all good things must come to an end, and there's always going to be your cons as well. So the question is how long is this going to remain? And what is the cons of this? What's the bad side of this? Well, for one, if we have more red seats in the state of Florida, the con of this whole thing is we have more people advocating to send money to Israel. And honestly, it goes the other way as well. You have a lot of Democratic seats, a lot of Democratic governors, a lot of Democratic mayors who also support sending our tax-paying dollars to Israel. And it's not just the fact that it's Israel. It's any foreign country. We should not be sending our funding to any foreign country in general. I get a lot of flack about it. I get a lot of hate about it. People attack me over every day saying, you're just anti-Israel, you're anti-Jewish, you hate Jews. No, I don't. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm not any of that stuff. I just don't want to see my taxpayer dollars going to foreign countries that I don't live in. You see, the whole purpose of taxes is to benefit the people. It's to put towards infrastructure. It's to put towards people in need. It's to help with storm cleanup. It's to support creating plans like what are we going to do with the wastewater in Jacksonville. Our taxpayer dollars should be going towards actual useful things like that for our benefit. But it's not. So ultimately, it's not the fact that, and if you believe that we should not have any of our tax-paying dollars going towards any countries, because here's the thing. I remember a few years back, a lot of the MAGA Trump supporters would talk about saying, oh, well, the Democrats are, Joe Biden's wanting to propose a bill right now, saying we're going to, send $300 billion to Africa, right, to help build water wells in Africa or whatever, right? And then the very same MAGA people who follow Trump's on every single one of his words, the very same people who takes what he says as gospel was against that. And they're against it because they said it's anti-American because it's not benefiting the American people. But when you flip the script a little bit and you say, I don't want my money going to the Middle East. And then they're real quick to say, well, what country in the Middle East are you talking about? Because Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Lebanon? Oh, yeah, we're all for that. No, we don't need to be sending our money over there. But if you flip the script a little bit and you say, well, no, I just don't want it going to Israel, including all these other countries as well, then they're real fast. They're real quick to jump on your case about that. Israel's our greatest ally. How dare you? You're anti-Semitic. You're just a Jew hater. Haven't they been through enough? Haven't they been through enough? Anyways. But no. Ultimately, though, the more red seats we have in the state of Florida, for the most part, is good. I like it. I think DeSantis made a good decision on that. But like I stated, though, who is going to take these seats? Because look, party aside, I don't care what the party is. I want to know which individual and what is their ideas. And I don't know, do we know anybody so far that's actually seeking it? And I don't think it's really official right this second. Do you know when this actually will, I'm talking to my talking to Jordan here. AJ, do you know when it's actually going to take effect? Because I have no idea. Let me look it up. Take effect. Oh, let's see here. Yep, yada yada. Okay, immediately. Okay, effective date immediately for candidate qualifying in 2026 election cycle. The bill itself states it takes effect upon the expiration of current representatives. Okay. So, it's taking effect now is from what I'm seeing. I got to look into this more because, you know, I have been kind of postponing this whole situation for me. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, I know about it. I know the benefits. I know the cons. But I have yet to actually look into the candidates who is actually wanting to seek these positions. But anyways, going on to say, though, ultimately, my point still stands. Are we going to get the same right? And I wouldn't dare call them right-wing, actually. The vast majority of the Republican Party is actually not right-wing. They're actually fairly liberal. Socially, they're liberal. Yeah, it was an immediate legal change. Okay, cool. So anyways, going on to say, the majority of the Republican Party is actually very liberal socially anyways. Like, for example, you have people like Byron Donalds, who does not support a statewide abortion ban. And look, whether you do or do not, that's a topic for another day. But what we're talking about now, though, is the key differences of what it means to be right-wing versus just a part of the Republican Party. Because you have people like Ted Cruz, right? Ted Cruz said that it is anti-Semitic to even say Christ is king. It's so funny because I remember seeing that like a month and a half ago or something like that. People was all over it. And now that it just seems like it's kind of died down a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's really weird how things will happen and people, it's really weird how things like that, big things like governors, they'll say something crazy like that. People will take it and run with it. And it just kind of dies off over time. And I don't know. I think that whole thing's pretty weird. But ultimately, though, going back on topic, the kind of candidates we need to take these seats is actually your right-wing candidates, like James Fishback. James Fishback is the only candidate in Florida that I'm aware of right now that actually has right-wing views. Bobby Williams, Jay Collins, Paul Renner, you can call them right-wing, but in all reality, they're just moderates. Literally, they're just moderates. Because everything that they say, like Jay Collins, for example, you know, the biggest thing that Jay Collins campaigns on is, I was in the military. You know, I was a Green Beret. I did this, I did that, so that makes me qualified for the job. And it's really fun, you know, and I hate hearing that for candidates so much. I absolutely hate it. Because just because you're in the military does not mean that you're qualified to hold office. You know, you can have somebody like, I don't know, Tim Walz, right? Tim Walz is a horrible example of this because Jay Collins really was a Green Beret. Jay Collins has really seen combat. Jay Collins he's a combat veteran. Jay Collins he's legit. He's genuine. Then you have somebody like Tim Walz come along and says, yeah, I was in the Army, or whatever he claims to have been in. He says, yeah, I was in the military. But he's never actually served his country a day in his life. And this is coming from the perspective of somebody who is heavily involved in this stuff. Because it's one thing to say you served your country. Hold on. There's a spider on my desk. Hold on. No. Hold on. I'm going to pause the show real quick. There's a spider on my desk, and I don't like it. It's like a jumping spider like that big. But no. Hold on. Give me like 2 seconds. I have to kill this thing. I'm sorry. I have to kill this thing. I cannot continue the show with a spider next to me. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Hold on. I'm going to kill it with the Zen can. Ew. I killed it. Look, you can see it on the book. Let me focus the camera on. You see it? It's on the very top. I squished it. I deprived it of life. It is no more. Ew, that's nasty. It's got like blood splatter. Ew. It's like clear blood too. Ew. Hold on. I'm gonna put this over there. Oh no. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I don't know how that thing got in here. I hate spiders, let me tell you. I absolutely hate spiders. Two things I never touch, I never deal with is spiders and snakes. Never. No. No. Anything that has more than 4 legs, I'm not touching. Anything that has more than 4 legs or anything that doesn't have legs at all, I want no part of. Unless it's a fish. But I want no part of. No. Not on my desk. Not in my studio. Not in my room. Never going to happen. Sorry. You're not living in here rent-free. Not with me living in here. Anyways, deprived that dude. I straight up just took his life from him. I straight up just martyred him. And you know, bro was just hanging out. He was just kind of sitting on my desk looking at me. I saw him just staring into my soul. Like he was wanting to jump on me so bad. He's not taking my blood. Not today. No. Anyways. I don't think I've ever actually deprived something of life on stream before until now. Man, anyways, I totally forgot what I was even on. I was talking about whatever I was going about, and I just so happened to see something move to my left a little bit. And you see, I have like a table right here, right? I have a table, has my laptop, has my microphone, everything on it. I got like my drink right here, and I just see something kind of hopping around, and I look over at it, and it's just staring at me with these like thousands of beady eyes. It's just staring into my soul, wanting to devour me alive. I don't know. Maybe he was a nice spider. But no. Anything that has more than 4 legs is not welcomed in my room. Never will be. Nope. Unless it's a mosquito hawk. Because you know those like really big mosquito things? They just fly around. They kind of just hang out in the corner of your bedroom. They kind of just hang out in the corner of the ceiling a little bit. And literally, it's called a mosquito hawk because they act like a mosquito. They're kind of like the hawk of insects. They are quite literally the guardian angel of your room when it comes to mosquitoes. Because there's always that one mosquito at night when you're laying in bed, and it's just trying to just straight up suck your it's just trying to straight up you know what oil fracking is? How like in the ocean, the Gulf or whatever, how they have those big oil rigs, and the fracking is like whenever they drill down and they go to the side to make sure to get all the oil. That's what mosquitoes want to do to you. But mosquito hawks, though, they're different. They're the guardian angel of the room, and they will protect you from mosquitoes. Anyways, moving on. Enough about insects. I don't know how I got on this topic other than there being a spider on my desk. But anyways, so I don't even know where to start anymore. Yeah, I brought out the crucifix and everything. Yeah, no, not in my room. Anything unholy is not welcomed in here, and spiders is one of them. Spiders is a very unholy insect. A very unholy creature. I don't know. If I'm wrong, God, I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. Look, man, you gotta chill out on your creations, okay? First, we have snakes. Then we have spiders. We have alligators, sharks, dude. We have everything in Florida. Florida is quite literally the Australia of the United States. And I hate living. I mean, I love living in Florida. Beautiful state. And, you know, like there's this one time I was driving to the lake. I was taking my boat out at the lake. And there was a huge turtle. I'm talking about, it was a huge snapping turtle. Let me get like my hands in the picture. It was about like this big. Like the size of my body. And it was just slowly crawling across the road. And I was like, you know, there's traffic on this road. I think I'm going to help him out a little bit. And I didn't know it was a snapping turtle till I went up to it. And so I got out the car and I go in the road. This thing just wants to tear me alive. It just wants to straight up just maul me. It wants to go out for my family. Like, this thing just hates everything about us. And rightfully so. I mean, we kind of did just, like, kind of take over his home and put 1,000 of our buildings there. And, you know, anyways. But I pick up the snapping turtle from behind because you have to do it a specific way. You have to kind of, like, go above his back legs, but anyways, but his neck was like this long, so he tried to like wrap his neck around his shell and try to get me, and I just like kind of tossed him on the side of the road, out of the road. Anyways, moving on. Was I talking about Jay Collins? I think I was talking about Jay Collins. Yeah, I was definitely talking about Jay Collins. Anyways, I guess I'll kind of just pick up where I left off, or at least where the last place I remember I left off at, and it was about Jay Collins being a Green Beret. Oh, you know what? We were talking about Tim Walz. Anyways, with Tim Walz, you have somebody like Tim Walz. He comes along in the picture, and like Kamala Harris would say, vote for us because my VP is Tim Walz and he's a veteran. And anybody who uses their veteran status to gain votes, honestly, it's like one of those things where I'm just like, I'm out. I want no part of it. Really. I really don't want any part of it. Because somebody who has served in the military like myself, there's so many people I come in contact with in the military. So many people I meet in the military. They have, and obviously, and it's going to be anywhere, right? No matter where you go, it's going to be anywhere. But they have the complete opposite, conflicting views as you. Which is okay. I don't care. But going on to say, though, it just proves that just because you have the status of a veteran does not mean that you're best suited for office. Tim Walz is a prime example. And I would say the same thing about Jay Collins, except the thing about Jay Collins is I don't think Jay Collins is like an absolutely horrible candidate. He's just not the candidate for me. And really, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for dogging on other candidates besides Fishback, unless it's Byron Donalds. I don't feel bad about that. But like, I don't know, like people like Brandon McIntyre, for example. And I know I said I was going to stop talking about him. And I feel so bad for always just dogging on this dude because he's just trying to live a dream, right? I guess he's always had that dream since elementary school that he wanted to be president, right? And it's so funny that I say that too, because he actually tried running for president in 2024. Like I can now officially say I had a presidential candidate on my show before. Anyways, but the guy's a complete joke though. He's always like going to like these county commissioner meetings and stuff or whatever, and he's like bringing documents that ChatGPT wrote up for him real fast, and he's going out and printing it out and putting it in like a folder and bringing it to him and be like, here's your constitutional notice, you're doing your job wrong. Sorry, if I was elected and somebody used ChatGPT to write up how I'm doing my job wrong, I'm throwing it out. I'm shredding it. Better yet, I'm recycling it, at least so I can put that paper to a better use than what he's using it for. And anyways, but moving on though, enough with the spiders, enough with Brandon McIntyre, enough with Jay Collins. I kind of, let's get back into the whole Florida redistricting and adding new Republican seats. Ultimately, I think it's a good thing, like it's stated. But I'm kind of wondering like how legal it really is. And I imagine, I don't see why it would not be legal, because I see so many people saying, oh, well, he cannot do this. This is an illegal action performed by the governor. But these are also the same people who also say that he performs illegal actions all the time in office. So I take it with a grain of salt. It's totally unserious to me. I don't really pay attention to it. But you know what I would say about that though and this also links back to the whole, we're a democracy. We're not actually a democracy. Like in our country itself, everybody describes this as a democracy. Kamala Harris, she's always said, saying, oh, we need to preserve our democracy. Any sort of Democrat and even Republican candidates always say we need to preserve our democracy. But we're actually not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. It says the Pledge of Allegiance quite literally says that. It says, and to a republic for which it stands. It says it in our pledge. And you know why these people completely ignore that? Is because they don't actually look into things like the pledge. They don't actually read the Constitution. They don't actually get into what it means to be an American. And that leads me to my next thing. I'll kind of save this topic a little bit after this. But ultimately, though, what it means to be a constitutional republic, and this does get into the whole Florida redistricting itself. what it means to be a constitutional republic versus democracy is, for one, a constitutional republic. You elect the people to vote on the behalf of you. When you elect a state representative, you elect them to make the decisions for you. When you elect a county commissioner, you elect them to make the decisions for you. When you elect a mayor, you elect them to make the decisions for you. Same thing with a governor, same thing with senators, same thing with the president. Where democracy's kind of the opposite. Similar in some ways, but the democracy, though, is where the people actually vote upon the issues. But the thing about the U.S. is you elect the candidates to make those decisions for you, though. That's the difference between those two. So I guess ultimately what I'm really getting at here is I don't see why it wouldn't be illegal for DeSantis to do it. Because like I said, we elect the officials to make the decisions for us. Now, obviously, if he's breaking some major thing, like, I don't know, prime example, Second Amendment. If some Democratic governor gets elected, like Newsom, if he goes in office and it says, yeah, we're restricting basically all of your gun rights, the only thing you're allowed to have is a muzzle-loaded rifle. It's a black powder muzzle loader. Right? That's totally ridiculous. But when you elect officials to make decisions for you, and this is kind of the way I view it, when you elect officials to make decisions for you, as long as they're not breaking any like major amendments, as long as they're not breaking the actual state constitutions itself, the state laws itself, then what's the issue here? Because can you really claim it's illegal? I would argue not, but I also want to touch into the whole Ohio governor election as well. I know some people, we're, the show Florida Frontier, we focus around Florida politics, right? But I really want to get into this though. Amy, what's her name? The Democrat running for office right now in Ohio. Her name's like Amy something. Let's see. Ohio Democrat. I can't remember her name for the life of me. It's like Amy something. Let's see here. Anyways, but Vivek Ramaswamy just recently won the GOP primary in Ohio, and I actually think that's a bad thing. And I'll explain my logic behind it. Man, why is it not? My internet's being like dog water right now, so it's kind of like refusing to give me an answer. Okay, here it is. Amy Actons. I don't know how much she really stands for. I don't really know what her beliefs is, but judging that she is a northern female politician running on behalf of the Democratic Party, I imagine she falls somewhere between the lines of abortion and Gay Pride Month, if I had to take a gander. Wild guess. But the reason I say Vivek Ramaswamy winning this elections, and that's actually kind of a bad thing, is, for one, and I'm going to get some flack for this, like yesterday, whenever I was doing a show yesterday on Facebook, I had to calm down on what I was saying a little bit. I had to lay back a little bit because I was kind of getting out of hand. I was pretty unhinged yesterday. So let me try not to be too unhinged right now. Vivek Ramaswamy. This goes down to the debate of who really is an American. Because anybody can be born in the U.S. and have the title as an American. And generally, I would agree, right? Because look, I believe that people born in the U.S. is American, but are they just as American as the people who can link their family all the way back to the Mayflower? I would argue not. Okay, I would argue not. And I'm kind of going based off of what Nick Fuentes was saying last night on his show. And for all you people who condemns me for listening to Nick Fuentes, for all you people who just says, oh, you're just a Nick Fuentes wannabe, which is totally not true. I was doing shows way before I ever even knew of the guy's name. So, yeah, screw all of you people who say that. It's not true. Honestly, I don't care what you say. I don't care about your crappy opinion. You can keep it to yourself. And if for whatever reason you wake up and you decide to be a little keyboard warrior, like I've had some people earlier, then whatever. I don't care. But whenever I offer you a debate on the show, though, I offer you to actually come on the show and debate me one-on-one, and the moment you refuse it is the moment you lost. Anyways, but I've always held this view, though. If you can link your family all the way back to the Mayflower, all the way back to the Founding Fathers, all the way back before the country was even founded itself, if you can link your family back in this country 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, then I don't think that some dude moving over to the U.S. to get his papers makes him any more American than you. You are more American than him. So the whole Vivek Ramaswamy thing, that's kind of how I view it. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's an Indian. His family comes from India. They're Hindus. They don't even believe in our Lord. And you know, well, let me retract that statement. They don't believe that our Lord is Lord. Vivek Ramaswamy just recently said that he does not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. He said he believes he is a Son of God, not the Son of God. So with America being founded based off of Christian principles, our whole Constitution was written based off of Christian principles. And for all you naysayers out there who say, oh, but what about separation of church and state? You know, separation of church and state exists. No. You got it all wrong. It actually protects the church from the state. It protects the church from the state. Evidence for it? Well, for one, you have to look at why did we have a whole Revolutionary War with Britain? It was to escape the religion within the government. It was to escape the taxes. It was to escape the corruption. It was to, excuse me. It was to escape the tyranny. So, if you really think about it, why do you think, and by the way, the whole separation of church and state actually came from a letter from Thomas Jefferson, and there's actually nowhere found within the Constitution itself. But what he was writing about was that whole deal. He was writing about that there needs to be protection of the state from the church, and there needs to be protection of the church from the state. And that's primarily what he was focusing on there. So anyways, I go on to say, though, our country itself was based off of Christian principles, Christian practices, our laws, our justice system. Did you know our justice system is based off of the book of Deuteronomy? For all of you non-Christians, for all of you atheist chuds out there, did you know that the book of our justice system was based off of the book of Deuteronomy? Well, now you do. Now you do. You learn something new every day, don't you? So I go on to say that it's very anti-American to have a first-generation American, not second, not third, a first-generation American. Vivek Ramaswamy was the first of his family to be born on U.S. soil as a Hindu, as a almost full-blooded Indian. You think of the gas stations out there, the people who own the gas stations, and you get Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, I was in the gas station the other day, and you know, me being 20 years old, I probably shouldn't be saying this on camera, but I don't care. I go to try to buy my Zins. I go to try to buy my nicotine, which in the state of Florida, I can actually legally do it because I have an exemption through the military. It does not apply with alcohol, only applies with nicotine. But gas stations don't know that, though. They don't know it because they don't care to look into it. All they know is, oh, you have to be 21. Well, for people like in my case, they don't actually truly look into it. But anyways, going on to say, though, the person who was probably born in America, who is currently speaking Hindu at the countertop of the gas station on FaceTime with his family back in India from a whole foreign country, he's not more American than me. He's not just as American as me. I'm more American than him. You're more American than him. And we have to drive this point forward. People's issues now is they're afraid to stand up to the opposition. And the opposition being the left. The left claims that everybody, as long as you have a piece of paper that says you're an American, no matter the country you come from, they're just as American as you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to disagree with you on that one, okay? The Somalians in Minnesota is not more American than me. They're not just as American as me, okay? I'm a proud American. I'm a proud third-generation Floridian. And by the way, my family heritage, I can actually link all the way back to the Founding Fathers. I can link my heritage all the way back to the people who originally came in America, who was not, who that actually was before the country's ever even founded in 1776. But I go on to say, though, these people are not they're not just as much as American as I am, okay? These people come in my country. I show them the law. I show them the Florida statute where I can legally buy the Zens because of my military exemption. And they go, oh, I don't know. I don't know. You know, they look at me and they look at me and they say, oh, I would say the same thing too to get nicotine if I was your age. I've had people tell me that before. And this whole spew right here is not just me trying to, tell people, oh, I need my nicotine. I'm not trying to gripe about it. I'm not trying to nag about me not being able to get nicotine all the time. I don't care about that, honestly. I really don't. I turned 21 in July, okay? I really don't care about that. But I have a problem, though, when non-Americans from other countries tell me what I can and cannot do in my country. I have a problem when these people come to my country, come to my state, and they're not educated on the laws of what our service members can and cannot do. So yeah, I have a major issue with that. I have a major issue with Vivek Ramaswamy, who is, by the way, pro-Israel, pro-sending all the money in the world to Israel. He's not American. He's Indian. He's Hindu. He condemns our Lord from being our Lord. He thinks that he's just another average Joe. I have a problem with somebody like that leading my state, okay? I don't care how their economic plan is. And by the way, surprise, surprise, Vivek Ramaswamy is pro-AI database center. He is pro-immigration. He's pro all that good stuff. Rather, I should say bad stuff. Vivek Ramaswamy is quite literally a Byron Donalds 2.0. Is literally what he is. And Ohio is now having to pay the consequences. And I don't know too much about the guy that Vivek Ramaswamy is running against in the GOP primary. I don't really care about. I don't know much about him, okay? Like, from what I hear, he ran a horrible campaign. He only got like 20% of the vote. He didn't actually really try, from what my understanding. I bet you if he did try, he would have probably got a lot more votes. But ultimately what I'm saying, though, is why are we going to continue to put up with these non-Americans coming into office, coming into our country, and telling us what we can and cannot do with our country? I have a major issue with it. I think that it is horrible. I think that it is disgraceful. And as Americans, we need to fight against that. Anyways, how long have we been on the show so far? I feel like I spent half the show just talking about a spider on my desk. Yeah, if I'm being quite honest, I'm kind of burnt out tonight, guys. Like, I've been up since early this morning. I've been editing half the day, and the other half the day, I have been out doing a whole bunch of stuff, been away from the house, and I'm pretty tired right now. But I'm going to go on for a little bit longer. I'm going to ask anybody who is watching, is there any questions in the comment section? Because I'm going to start doing a thing at the end of my show now, where I will start asking, I'll start having people put in questions, and I'll save it for the end of the show, and I'll go back and read it and answer people's questions. That's what we're going to start doing as we get a bigger audience in the future, because obviously now the show is fairly small. I have a handful of people who actually watches me on a daily basis, for one being my family, and for two just being friends that I know. And we do have a few newcomers coming in every now and then. We do have a lot of people from YouTube who would just tune in, people I've never heard of, just people coming on from YouTube and just kind of tuning in, seeing what's up. But ultimately, though, we are growing the show still. I need to improve the advertisements of the show. And eventually we will grow enough to where we'll have a consistent of maybe 20, 50 people, hopefully. I'm forecasting that to be within the coming months, and I cannot wait for that. But anyways, yeah, we're reaching in about 50 minutes here, 45 minutes in. Is there any questions? Anybody watching who has any questions? Because honestly, I think I kind of touched what I was going to touch on for this show. And like I said, I am pretty tired. I'm kind of burnt out, to be honest. I could go on and on like I generally do. But tonight, I'm just not really in it, if I'm being honest. I put on a show tonight because I said I was going to. I said I was going to do one every single day, which I will do one every single day, no matter how tired I get. I could be up all night and I'd still do one. May not be the most entertaining thing ever, but I'll still put one on. Anyways, I'm going to give... Well, you know what? One thing that we can do, actually, we can kind of just look through X and see what kind of drama is happening on the X. And, I know something that we can talk about. I'm getting a bunch of Facebook notifications. Yes. The article. So, Florida Frontier Uncensored on Substack. We have released our first article today. It is concerning the redistricting of Florida. It is completely free to read. You can go to our Substack account by looking up Florida Frontier Uncensored on Substack. You can go give it a read. It's probably like a minute and a half read, a minute read. It's nothing major, but well written. I agree with the article. I agree with the premises of it. It's a very unbiased thing. It's very centrist, which is what I like. And so I'm not trying to push for some like far right media or whatever, right? I'm not really trying to do that. And anyways, we have a bigger article coming up on Friday. I can't remember the topic of it, but anyways, go check that out. Go give it a look, and let's go. And I got a few notifications on Facebook here. I'm curious. Let me look at these. I imagine a lot of. Okay, yeah, there's that. This is mainly just referring to gas prices, me arguing with people on Facebook earlier. Anyways, I had somebody tell me earlier today saying, who really cares about the gas prices? Nobody really cares. Just pay it and go on about your day. I care about the gas prices, okay? I care when a year ago I can use $40 to fill up my tank, but now it takes $100. I think a lot of people are concerned about that. But I don't really see the need of going about that anymore because I think it's more of just a common sense kind of thing. Like, I feel like everybody's got the gist on that. At least the majority of everybody. I hope so. But yeah, no, I'm getting pretty tired right now. We're going to kind of scroll on X a little bit. I call it, I say X whenever in all reality, I still call it Twitter. I don't really care. Let's see. Did I mention this yesterday? That Byron Donalds never showed up to the forum, the debate with James Fishback and Paul Renner? I can't remember if I ever mentioned that. Yeah, no, Byron Donalds just knows that if he goes head-to-head with Fishback anywhere, anytime, any place, Fishback's just going to rock his world, and he's going to embarrass him in front of the entire country. Not just the entire state, but the entire country, the entire world. And I cannot wait to see that day coming up on July 21st. July 21st is when Fishback is going to hold a debate with Byron Donalds. And that right there will be the end of Byron Donalds' career. And I cannot wait for it. I'm all for it. Matter of fact, I gotta rep the campaign. I'm a proud Fishback supporter. I don't believe you talked about it. Yeah, I'm kind of burnt out right now, but I'll get in a little bit of it because I kind of want to drag the show out to an hour. I'm always trying to aim for an hour. Really, I wish I can go on for 2 hours. I can only go on for 2 hours, 3 hours if I have somebody else on the show to talk to about things. But you know what? Actually, we can drag somebody on here real quick. We're going to drag somebody on here. I'm going to call one of my good friends, see if he wants to hop on. I gotta tell him don't say anything crazy because he will definitely say something crazy. He will definitely say something crazy if I don't warn him. And we cannot have that on YouTube. We cannot have that on YouTube because YouTube will cry about it. They will definitely cry about that. Looks like he is not answering his phone, so we're going to hop in the Discord server to see where he's at. Yo, Gavin, you there? Yo, Gavin. I don't think he's there. Okay. Anyways, if he hops back on, or if Bowden gets on here later on tonight, maybe he's at work right now, actually. But if he's at work and he's willing to jump on stream tonight, we just might just go live again later on tonight and just kind of talk to him about this whole thing. Because if I have somebody to talk to, I can just go on for a lot longer. I can only talk to myself for so long, okay? And anyways, yeah. If you have not already, go check out our Substack account called Florida Frontier Uncensored. You can read our free article that we just put on there today. You can get the viewpoint. You can see through the lens of Florida Frontier about the whole entire redistricting of Florida. And we have some more articles. We have another one coming up on Friday, and we will try to keep it consistent throughout the weeks. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I would go into the whole Middle East situation tonight, but what more is there to say, really? I mean, it's the same, and like I said yesterday, we just live in Groundhog Day, I swear. It's the same thing over and over again every single day. It never ends. There's never something new that happens. It's always the same thing. Like, I can only beat a dead horse for so long. Like, I can only say, yeah, AIPAC is bad. I can only say that for so long. And I say it just about every stream. But anyways, yeah, so this is going to be the stream tonight. We're maybe going to go live. Honestly, I give it a 50-50. Don't count on another stream tonight. Don't count on it, but I give it a 50-50. Depending on how my friends are feeling, depending on how Bowden is feeling, he may or may not want to hop on tonight, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you all for who has just tuned in. If you enjoy the show, you can subscribe to us on Substack for $8 a month. If you're a true patriot, if you're a true OG, you can subscribe to us for $8 a month on Substack to unlock exclusive articles, exclusive videos, exclusive documentaries, things that is in the making by me, yours truly, and you get in a group chat with me on Florida Frontier. It's through Signal. Like I said, I've said this numerous times. As long as you're not blowing up my phone at midnight, I don't really care. Anyways, but that's going to be the stream for tonight. We may or may not, like I said, we may or may not hop on later tonight with Bowden to get his whole perspective on this whole thing. But other than that, yeah, it's I'm pretty tired, pretty burnt out throughout the day, and I can only talk to myself for so long. Anyways, I have an idea for tomorrow's stream. I think tomorrow's stream, I'm gonna get like a marker board, and tomorrow we're gonna do something a little bit different. I'm going to get a marker board, whatever I may come up with, and we're going to talk about socialism versus capitalism. That's going to be the topic for tomorrow, because honestly, I'm just tired of covering the same news almost every single day. And so we're going to do something different. We're going to throw a wrench into the system. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to get into economics. Socialism versus capitalism. I'm a capitalist. As y'all know, I'm sure y'all know, I'm a capitalist because, I'm this horrible right-wing person. But anyways, good night, everybody. I will hopefully see you later on tonight. Not too sure if I do go live, you'll just have the notification on your phone, hopefully. Anyways, thank you for watching Florida Frontier. I will see you tomorrow.